Beerus seeks out the Super Saiyan God, finding Kakarot and Raditz on Earth. Unfortunately, they have no idea of what a Super Saiyan God is, but thankfully by seeking out the Cerulean Dragon Balls, they're able to get their answer. And also, they seem to have found a new training partner, somebody who comes along with them to Beerus' planet, that being Granola. Now that the two have achieved Super Saiyan God, what's gonna come next? We'll be seeing all that and more in this part 14 of What If Goku Was Evil. Beerus looks on in awe, amazed at the sight of a Super Saiyan God, two of them in fact. Deep down he knows that they still won't be enough to challenge him, so instead, why not another 2v1? He invites them both to fight him, both at once. He wants to see the true power of the Super Saiyan God duo. And a battle between them ensues. Everyone's moving so quickly. Whis watches on impressed at his two students, with Granola watching on amazed. Thankfully he's a god-level fighter and can keep track of this, especially with the fact that he has great eyesight. But he can't imagine anyone else trying to watch this fight. It's happening so quickly. Their sheer speed, power, everything. He could sense it. It makes him really wonder if he has a god form too that he can access. These Saiyans have a ton of transformations, but for him, he hasn't achieved much. There is one power-up he's gained though. He's awoken his second eye, having 2 red eyes now. He's empowered by that and his godly ki, but he wonders if he can get a true godly form like those two. Beerus, Raditz, and Kakarot dash around the planet, high above the surface, with Beerus enjoying every second of it. This power is greater than he expected. He sees that they're not on his level, not just yet, but they have the potential to get there. And they're amazed by the power too, but at the same time, underwhelmed. They felt like they could be on Beerus' level once they attain this form, but it seems not. But Beerus tells them, don't get so down on themselves. This is just the first step. Just look at what these Saiyans have achieved before. He's seen their other forms. Those previous forms, like Super Saiyan or Kakarot's Evil Saiyan form, those acted like stepping stones of sorts. The first part of their journey into other forms. And if they were able to improve those forms, building upon them, maybe they could do the same with Super Saiyan God. The 3 of them land, with Beerus impressed. He tells them their next step is to improve Super Saiyan God, in any way possible. They're on the right path, but still, their power needs to be a little bit higher to contend with him. Well, a lot higher. And also he tells them, it needs to be a lot higher if they want to contend with Turles. They have no clue about how strong he is right now. But Beerus says Whis has been keeping tabs on him. Turles isn't just sitting around twiddling his thumbs. He may be unlocking his own new powers soon. Kakarot and Raditz are amazed to hear this. So is Granola. He started to hear a bit more about Turles from the 2 other Saiyans. And naturally, Granola's going to be against him. Turles is an evil Saiyan. A true evil Saiyan, unlike these 2, who are not nearly as bad as him anymore. But it's not just that. His role right now. He's on a conquest for power. He's directly absorbing the energy from planets. And stars too, taking it all for himself. But more importantly, he has direct control over Frieza's army. It's under a different name, but it still is the Frieza Force. Granola's definitely glad that Frieza and Cooler are dead. But what's the point if somebody's going to take his place? In Granola's eyes, Turles is just a new Frieza. More of a reason to have a grudge against Turles as well. Back at the Neo Crusher Core, Turles is preparing something immense. From that piece of Buu that he had, they're trying to make a new Buu, one that only answers to Turles. He wants to use Buu as a weapon, but at the same time, he's not really involved with that project. He's still going around, planting more trees of mites. Mostly, he's eating fruits from planets. He still has to pace himself with stars after all. But now his body is fully adapted. He has no need to pace himself with fruits from planets. He's growing immensely stronger by the day, but he is seeing diminishing gains from the fruits. But one day, an idea comes to him, an idea regarding Buu. Instead of using him as a soldier, there may be a better way to utilize Buu's power. He hatches a perfect idea, immediately going over to his army. We enter a brief time skip. Kakarot, Raditz, and Granola continue training on Beerus' planet, and they've grown significantly, but at a certain point, they feel like they've gained more than enough power. This should be enough to defeat Turles, no matter how strong he's grown by now. And Beerus questions if they're truly ready for it. Well, if they want to go, they can. He'll let them leave for now. But he does warn them, if they don't come back alive, he'll just take Turles as his next Super Saiyan God rival. So, the pressure's on. Whis offers to take them, but they decline. They're going to travel the old-fashioned way, using a spaceship so they can spend the time traveling to plan. Also, they don't want Beerus or Whis to meet Turles too. They still have no clue about how those two will react and if they'll take a liking to Turles or not. So, that's partially the reason. They take Granola's spaceship, and the 3 can clearly sense its energy. It's so powerful, even when he's not at his full strength, they can sense it all the way across the universe. And they basically just use that to guide them. They spend the time on the ship resting, getting ready for a massive battle. But on their way over to Turles, they pass by a very strange solar system. Kakarot looks out into space, and tells Raditz to come look too. There's a couple of planets, and Raditz says he sees nothing abnormal about them, but Kakarot says to look closer. All of them have some sort of giant mountain on it. And not just a mountain, no, it's like sticking out into space. It's almost as if another planet is attached to them. The strangest part is, it definitely does not look natural. And the fact that it's multiple planets around here. But the weirdest part of all is the star nearby. There seems to be some sort of massive structure around it. Or at least, one in the process of being built. Maybe this has something to do with Turles, a new plan of his or something, some new technology that he has. Alarms start going off in the ship, and Granola tries to pilot it away. They ask him what's going on, and he says they're under attack. Something's latched onto the ship, and they're being pulled into a nearby planet. What the hell's happening here? The ship starts spinning out of control and then crashes. The three are relatively uninjured, and they jump out of the remains of the ship. They have no clue about what happened, but it was clearly deliberate. They're on one of those nearby planets, one that had that giant mass on it. Something then reaches out of the ground, trying to grab onto their legs. They jump up, floating high above, wondering what the hell's going on. But then they see something sticking out of the ground nearby, and it starts building itself up into something else. A mass of wires appears, forming together with a bunch of metal, and they see a humanoid standing there. The man rises up, floating in front of them as well. Kakarot and Raditz' jaws drop, and Granola doesn't know who he's looking at, but he has somewhat of an idea. The two brothers can't believe it. Is that Cooler? And Granola turns to them. Wait, if that's Cooler, then what the hell happened? He thought they killed Cooler. And they say they weren't lying, they did kill Cooler. This looks like him, but looks like he's made out of metal or something. This Cooler lookalike smiles. He introduces himself. This is a new incarnation of Cooler, Metal Cooler. Kakarot almost fully destroyed Cooler, although there were some bits and pieces left. Thankfully, he was found by the big Gete star, with the two merging, and ever since then, he's been amassing even more power. First taking over moons, then planets, and now an entire solar system. Creating a Dyson sphere around the star to use it as power, and using the materials from all the nearby planets to grow even further. And he's glad he found them, telling them he was in the process of seeking Turles out too. He tried looking for these Saiyans, but the only power he could detect was Turles', which explains why they're on the same course. This is one of the systems he's infected so far. Everybody lands on the surface, and Kakarot proudly proclaims he might be stronger, maybe a lot stronger, but they tell Cooler he could definitely not contend with what they are now. Kakarot transforms, going into Supreme Saiyan, and he smiles. It's gonna be kinda funny. This will be the second time he'll use this form to kill Cooler, and Raditz proudly proclaims, no matter how strong he is now, there's no way he can contend with gods. And Cooler's surprised to hear this, but smiles. Maybe they're a little too confident in their own strength. He disappears from sight, fighting Kakarot, and Kakarot's actually impressed. His power is keeping up with Supreme Saiyan, but it's fine. He has stronger forms, and Raditz and Granola are there too. But Kakarot looks down at the surface. A few more Coolers pop up, with them starting to fight Raditz and Granola. Wait, there's more than one? The Cooler fighting Kakarot laughs. He can make as many as he needs. He tells them they'll also make perfect batteries for what he has in mind. He had the big Gete star before, but now he's looking for bigger things. Now, he's aiming to make a big Gete galaxy of sorts, taking over multiple solar systems for himself, using it to amass immense amounts of strength. And not only will they be perfect batteries for him, but at the same time, he can enact his revenge, finally getting rid of the two of them. If he can make infinite copies of himself, they're going to need to reserve their power. So, Kakarot transforms, but doesn't use his full power, going into Super Saiyan God, and Raditz uses this cue to do the same, with Granola fully powering up as well. He tries to focus. These are machines, so finding vital points may be different from when he finds them in actual living people, but he still probably can. There has to be some sort of weak point somewhere, and he looks around. The metal coolers do have weak points, but every time one of them is destroyed, it just regenerates, learning from that. But Granola realizes he's looking in the wrong place. Oatmeal tells him, these are just copies. They need to look for the source of the copies. And Granola starts darting his eyes around. And up in space, he sees something faintly, very far away. That might be the source of it. A satellite flying around the solar system, one that seems to be the source of all these. He jumps up in the air, looking at the two brothers. He says they need to buy him some time. Kakarot and Raditz tell him they got it. But wait, he's gonna go up out in space alone? And Granola says he'll be fine. Technically, he hasn't really been confirmed to be able to breathe in space or not, but he did have that one fight on that asteroid before, so I'm gonna go with that and say he can. He flies out into space, and one of the metal coolers tries to stop him, but Kakarot and Raditz protect him. They tell Cooler his fight is with them, and he laughs. Their friend is smart for escaping. They're not gonna be so lucky. He'll let that Cerulean go, and he could probably find him later too. And Kakarot and Raditz go with this idea. Yeah, he's just retreating, but they're not. They're gonna stay here to fight. And Cooler's fine with this. He wants to kill them anyways. That's what's important right now. More clones of Metal Cooler pop up. Individually, they can't really contend against these Super Saiyan gods, but collectively, they're starting to push the two of them back. The brothers are still holding back some of their power, but they realize they're gonna have to possibly use a little bit more. Thankfully though, they have just the thing for this. Wires shoot up from the planet below, trying to drag the two brothers down and use them as batteries. A swarm of metal coolers flies toward them as well. Kakarot looks over at his brother. It's now or never, and Raditz agrees. They'll use their full power. The aura of a Super Saiyan God encapsulates them, but the aura starts morphing, becoming a bluish-greenish color. Kakarot's hair grows out, with his eyes slightly morphing too, and as for Raditz, his hair becomes less like hair and more like fire. A bluish-green flame. They fully power up, and just from their auras alone, all the metal coolers around them right now are destroyed, and they fully unleash their strength. The entire planet collapses from this alone, and the two are left out in space. Two beacons of light that Granola can see from far away. This is the power of a Super Saiyan God, combined with their ultimate forms. Supreme God Kakarot, and Infernal God Raditz. But the fight's not over yet. An army of coolers comes from other planets too, and they're more than ready. They barrel through the entire army of them, jumping around from planet to planet, fighting the waves of them as they come along. This is amazing. They're having a ton of fun doing this too. It's a great test for their power, and such a thrilling battle too. They never thought they'd be able to fight this many people at once. It's awesome. They go to one of the nearby planets, the largest one in the system, trying to coax all the metal coolers to get as far away from Granola as possible. Granola flies out into space, getting closer and closer to that satellite. But as he gets closer, he sees it's not what he thought he was. He assumed it was a moon, being taken over by the big Gete star, kind of like those planets. But no, this is a purely artificial mass. It's just a giant body of metal. And as he gets closer, he sees something illuminating from the other side. It's where the weak point is. He could feel it. Wires start shooting out of the body of metal, and he's barely able to dodge it. But then he sees the other side of it, and he has no clue of what he's looking at. It's a face. He sees two eyes on this massive moon, and it turns towards the planet where Kakarot and Raditz are. They see an ominous red glow in the sky, and then they hear someone talking with them telepathically. It's Granola. He tells them to jump off the planet, now. As they look closer at the glow, they can kind of make out what looks like Cooler's face. A massive laser is launched down to the planet, with the two brothers barely being able to dodge. They jump out of either side of the laser, trying to fly around it, converging at that moon where they find Granola. So this is the source of all that. But they realize too, if they're going to defeat Cooler, they're going to need to get rid of his materials too. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like any of these planets are inhabited. Their best idea is to just destroy all those planets nearby. The two start launching blasts, powerful ones that have no key control behind them, just to destroy the planets. And that giant moon starts to morph, turning into a giant metal cooler. The scale of it is insane, but Granola can clearly see where the weak point is. He can find the chip, the AI that's directing it all. It's within the head, the same spot where they see an actual piece of cooler, one of his eyes, part of his face. If they could aim for that and destroy it, maybe they can get rid of this menace. That's where the core is. The brothers try and use their power once more, glowing brilliantly out in space. More metal coolers are spawned from the giant one, and they look at Granola. He tells them not to worry about him. He'll be able to keep up. He's coated by a fiery aura too, tapping into all his godly power. He's still aiming for a form of his own, but for now, he can at least utilize the godly power with his double red-eyed form. The three all launch up, avoiding the waves of metal coolers on the way. Tearing through them, the massive eyes launch more lasers down at them, with the trio being barely able to dodge it. Granola goes in front of them, directing them towards where the weak point is. He tells them they probably only have one shot at this, summon all their power, coalesce it into one point. The three of them all start charging ki in their fists. This is their only chance at this. Granola looks back at them, seeing if they're ready, and they nod. He charges up, and then flies right upwards, sticking a fist out coated in ki. The two brothers follow behind in the line, with the two then appearing on each side of Granola. They rapidly rush towards the head, with their three fists right next to each other. More coolers start to try and swarm them, but before they can get close, they get disintegrated, and they make their way up to the top. Their fists connect all at once, penetrating right through the head. Granola guides them too, as they head right into the core. They find themselves in a massive open area, only illuminated by their ki. It's inside the head, but they see right in the middle, the core. With one last charge, they burst right through it, coming out of the other side of the head too. And quickly, they turn around, trying to all launch a massive blast at once. The giant cooler lets out a metallic shriek, deafened by the vacuum of space. It starts collapsing, and the three of them use all their energy for that attack, but they're going to need a little bit more energy, just to escape. Raditz tells them fly, now. He launches off in the opposite direction, with the other two following him, and the giant mass starts collapsing. Massive rays of energy are shot out from it, as the core explodes. Thankfully, they're able to safely escape and defeat Metal Cooler, but now they're a bit annoyed. They were so close to Turles, and they used all their energy to fight Cooler. Well, at least it was a good way to test out their power, but it seems they're going to need to heal up once more. Damn it, that would have been perfect. Whis then appears nearby. He was watching the entire time, and realized that they're going to need a ride back. Maybe this time they won't turn down his transportation. Yeah, they should have just listened to him. Whis grabs them, taking them back to Beerus' planet where they could be restored. And thankfully, this bought Turles just enough time. His army begins finishing the project. After all this time, it's finally complete. Turles didn't even know what exactly just happened now, but he sensed a battle out in space, and he definitely felt Raditz and Kakarot's energy too. They might be making their move soon, and this is perfect timing. He now has a new power of his own, a way that he's going to be able to defeat them. One of the scientists from his army hands him a fruit. It looks strange, different from the other ones. It's pinkish in color. It was grown from a seed taken from a nearby star, and it was planted within that piece of Majin Buu, absorbing all the power from that. They're able to genetically engineer this, a fruit not only with the power from a star, but from Majin Buu. It kinda looks disgusting, but Turles doesn't care. He takes a bite out of it, and he feels a sensation he's never felt before. This is unlike anything he's had. His eyes widen. The power of Majin Buu consumes him. He feels magic coursing through him, a new type of energy. Instead of using Majin Buu's power as a weapon, he decided, why not use Majin Buu's power for himself? Infuse it within him, and this was his master plan. Now begins the birth of Majin Turles, and this is where we'll leave off for now. As we get closer to the end of the series, what did you guys think about this part and what's going on so far? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to see more videos like this. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.